Stop the cap.
I don't know why when it comes to some people, when it comes to new concepts, it's very difficult for them to wrap their brains around. Or new things introduced to the pot. I feel like there's a number of black men that are just as bad as black women whenever they're presented with new information that might change the dynamics of what, we think is going on. Especially when it comes to this new conversation about the Madonna whore complex that, I've been observing for years. It cannot be denied. There is a double standard at play. I had somebody ask me about the origins, of it, how we're rooted. A lot of this is rooted in Christianity or rooted in, religion. And it seems like they can't comprehend the word root. It's rooted in. And they want to point out that today's black women, they're not church going. They don't go to church. Or it's only Southern black women that go to church. That's irrelevant to what's being said, because those that have the issue with black women and how they present are black men. They're the ones that are throwing holy water around if a black woman is too sexy. We can talk about the women, the grandmothers, the aunts. If a woman, is too sexy, they'll throw up and say that she's, too fast or something like that, right? But the conversation is about how we are interacting or perceiving black women, when we gaze upon them. And it is rooted in Christianity. This is, we're African Americans. We're descendant of slaves. White folks gave us the Bible. They gave us our religious orientation. We tried to mimic, imitate, and copy them. That was the only orientation we were given. That's why when you go out and you see, the black people in the 1960s and before, they're all basically wearing the same styles as white folks, trying to look like white folks. There was no alternative style. That didn't come to be until, the late 1960s and into the 80s and 90s. Going back to, Bones, with Bastards of the Party. Once black people recognized all that ass kissing the white people wasn't going to get them anywhere, they were like, fuck it. We're going to go out here and operate by the beat of our own drum. And that's where you started getting a lot of these alternative movements like Move in Philadelphia, the Hoteps, street culture, right? This is where you started getting black people becoming more expressive and not caring about, white people's standards or whatever they put forth, right? And then we started, opening up with doing alternative things, and then white people, would argue and be like, oh, that's niggerish, oh, and that's abhorrent, and all this other stuff, right? And black people still push back on those concepts today, but we haven't defined anything for ourselves, and part of the problem is we get so anti-white that we become anti-structure and anti, setting boundaries. And then we start claiming that boundaries themselves are Eurocentric in nature, that they're Eurocentric in concept. And then we don't have any damn boundaries. Anytime somebody sees something that they don't like, or if somebody tries to put a restriction or a boundary on them, they'll quickly, throw up, that they're being Eurocentric, that they're, trying to imitate white people or something like that. So it's like, damn, like, how do you set any standard for black people? That's something that we have, not done as a people. And a lot of times what black people will do is they'll go back and they'll reference religion, and they'll say, well, this is the template here, and we've drifted away from this, right? And they'll go back to that. We always go back to that. That's why as an atheist, I argue with black people so goddamn much. Doesn't matter whether you're a Christian or not. There's things that are a part of the Bible, like as Cap would say, there's things that are part of the Bible that aligns with, our own personal beliefs. you know. But and some of that is a part of growing up in this country, you know. Judeo-Christian principles are like smog, like in LA. You can't help but breathe it in. You're going to breathe it in, regardless. And some of that may resonate with you individually. Other parts of it may not resonate with you. But what was I going to say? So you're trying to drive and talk to y'all at the same time. Somebody asked me about why is the focus on Latinas. The focus is on Latinas is because Latinos or Latinas are different than the white people and the black people in America. Black people and white people have more in common in America than Latinos. Latinos don't even, their origins are from a culture that doesn't even have English as its primary language. So you can start right there for one. So due to the primary language not even being English, their beliefs and their concepts are slightly different. Now, arguably, some people will say, well, they're Catholic, and so they should be, really orthodox, and they should be hardcore. And I'm sure in some instances, you will see that. Hold on a second. Right? And it has also been argued. Why am I dropping stuff? It's also been argued, like I said, that whole thing with Sofia Vergara, right? Or Vergara, however you say her name. She, was a total fabrication, copied from the Chiquita the Banana Lady and the 1950s, rendition of, what a Latino is. You saw this with, the Cuban guy with Lucille Ball and all that, right? Complete exaggerations, right? And I wonder just how much of that has become a part of, Latino culture based off of the way that Latinos were portrayed in mainstream American media. Not that it's something that comes, from them, right? But one of the things that, Cap always tries to get me to be careful of is this whole notion of throwing out the culture because the culture is due to systematic oppression. Because pretty much there's no group on planet Earth, other than maybe some obscure tribe in the middle of the Amazon, that has not been negatively impacted by the systematic oppression of the European and their stereotypes and perceptions of non-white peoples, right? You see this with even the way that we view Asian Americans. Asian Americans can be one of two things: a kung fu master, or the smart whiz kid that's good at math and knows how to play chess, right? Even though I don't even think the top chess players are Asian, right? These are the labels that will be put on Asian men, all because of that's what's seen, in mainstream media. And to a great degree, minority peoples tend to, adopt those identities that are presented by the dominant white culture. But Cap always tries to make me mindful of, the whole concept of throwing things out completely because it's been tainted by white folks. But anyway, getting on to what I was saying, damn, I'm losing my train of thought because I'm driving. Oh yeah, black people and white people being closer to each other than Latinos. Even though Latinos, many of which are white, but I'm talking about culturally speaking. The reason why Latin women end up being the center of this conversation is because I think that Hispanic women black women and white women take issue with the fact that Hispanic women can be sexy, or Latino women can be sexy, and within their own culture, they don't get slapped with the whore label. In Western culture, they'll get slapped with the whore label. Fox News, right? They got, all the white people, they got on Traffic Bay. She's too thick. She got her legs out. That's too much ass. They don't like the oversexed woman. And quiet as it's kept, the black community has its own, Madonna horror complex with the oversexed woman. We do. Even though our women probably, arguably got more body than anybody else. But black people, a lot of times, we like to play respectability politics. We like to, show massa how civilized we are, right? We don't do that, right? I mean, Kat was telling me about when he was a kid. He told me a story a while ago, but how his mother used to make him, eat well into the 70s. His mother used to make him dress up to go to the movies. That's some shit that people did in the 50s and the 40s. They would dress up to go to the movies, right? Nobody was doing that by the time, the 70s hit. Her whole perception was when she saw white people that came to the movies and they weren't well dressed, like she had Cap dressed in a suit to go to the damn movies. She felt that she was better than those white people, that they were white trash, and that she was somehow, upholding the idea, the concept of being, this, sophisticated black woman, and these poor whites, these ruffians, they don't even get dressed and go to the movies, right? But the irony is the whole concept of that is based off of what white people established and what white people were doing, and black people merely imitated. And when white people discard it, and when white people cast it to the side, right, she was still holding on to the idea that she was again playing into the respectability politics, that she was to be recognized for what she was doing, not realizing that the standards had changed. So when it comes to the Latino women, black women and white women, they get frustrated with Latino women for them being not only I won't say oversexed by Western standards, but just normal by Latino standards. And you see this on Univision, and you see this on Telemundo, right? I mean, for years, black men been making jokes about Latino women and how sexy they are on Telemundo and Univision. I make a video pointing out black men's Madonna horror complex, and then all of a sudden they go into denial mode. I'm like, y'all don't talk about sisters that way. Y'all don't talk about, their beauty or their sexiness in the same way that you talk about Latinas. And again, on the surface level, it looks like colorism, featureism, all that. But there's really something to be said about this Madonna horror complex. Whether black men have good interactions with their mothers and bad interactions with their mothers. Now, I've watched some videos on the Madonna horror complex, watched several of them now at this point. And some of them dive into this whole notion that, you have this relationship with your mother, and you view your mother like in this pure angelic way. And then when it comes to other women, you have to view them in a different way. Right. But both of them are women. Your mother's a woman, and the woman that you're supposed to be intimate is also a woman. But then you have this whole idea where your mother is a woman, she's to be respected, and your wife is a woman and she's to be respected, but yet you have all these feelings and all these desires, right? And you feel guilty, as a result. And so you lash out and you take that out on, the other woman, the whore, the slut, the town prostitute, right? That you go out there and you do that. Then there's the other side where you'll have a man that has a horrible relationship with his mother. And his mother was abusive, and these are the sorts of things that don't get discussed, right? Because black men are told they got to suck it up. So we know all the stories and all the narratives about, the either abusive black father or the black father that wasn't there, but somehow was abusive in his absence, right? We hear that now, all the stuff that how women are affected, but we don't hear about how boys are affected by negative interactions that they have with their mother, and how that manifests and turns into situations where these men then lash out at other women. They lash out at their peer group, right? So again, it's inappropriate beat your mother's ass. It's inappropriate to fuck your mother. It's inappropriate, to do things that defile and disrespect her. But it's not necessarily inappropriate to do that to other women. Then you have the aspect of where men take on this sort of like this, I'll call it internalized racism, but where there's that whole not shitting where you eat, right? I've seen this. It's not just a black thing. A lot of people get on me about I see comments. It's not just a black thing. It's not just but we're talking about black men, and this hasn't been examined with us. Yes, I've seen it in other groups. I've talked about this with the French European men that go out there and every time they see black skin or a black woman, they think prostitute. This type of conditioning goes on. I've seen this in walking down the street with a dark-skinned woman in the city of Philadelphia, and we were in a predominantly white, wealthy neighborhood, and the child reached out to the woman that I was walking down the street with and on a date with. And she basically had to inform me that goes on all the time, because a lot of the nannies that are the nannies of these little rich-ass white children are black women. And so the children associate nurturing and caring with dark skin. Ironically enough, this dives right into some of the fetishes that white men, from the era of segregation had in terms of their infatuation with black women as caretakers and whatnot, where they were sexually and romantically attracted to black women because it was black women who were the ones who were breastfeeding them. It was black women who were the ones that fed them when they were hungry. It was black women who were the ones that would pick them up and carry them and caress their boo-boo, when they hurt themselves. Not their mothers, because their mothers didn't do shit. Okay, I grew up in a neighborhood that had quite a few nannies, and those children were disconnected from their mothers. And the mothers be all upset when the kid's adolescents and doesn't really have a bond with her. I'm like, why would he have a bond with you? You left it up to the Hispanic nanny to do it, or the black Caribbean nanny to do it. Why would they have a bond with you? You didn't raise them, the nanny did. I've seen that. So I'm just saying those are examples of the way that people can, be affected by, their formal, their formal years of being raised and whatnot. But, going into the men of other groups that look at black women or even women outside of it, because one of the videos, and I did put the link in the description, but not the description box, link on the community tab. And that woman said she was Russian Slavic. And she talked about the men from the Caucasian men. And to Russians, which I didn't know, which is interesting to know, they consider Caucasians those who are from the Caucasus Mountains, which is where the terminology, Caucasian actually comes from, the Caucasus. Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Chechnya. Right, all these countries, in between the Caucasus Mountains and the Caspian Sea, those regions, or is that the Black Sea? I forget which one it is. But anyway, the people in that region, and many of those people are Muslim, and the Muslim men, basically, when they come to Russia, or if they've been incorporated into the Russian Federation, back when she was born, because clearly she was old enough to, be there before the fall of the Russian Federation, right? Or is it the Russian? Yeah, I think it's the Russian Federation. Anyway, they look at, blonde women, blue-eyed women as playthings, things for them to sully, things for them to conquer, things for them to do all of the sexual things that they want to do to those women. But they won't do that with their own women. With their own women, they're like, oh, I will marry my own, because this is what is to be respected. This is what is to be protected, right? But it may not cater to their sexual, lustful desires that most certainly in the Quran, it probably says, that you shouldn't be doing those things or having those feelings. Everything is supposed to be bathed in spirituality, right? And I'm trying to think of another example where you would see this type of thing. I mean, I guess we see it in the Catholic Church with these, pedophilic Catholic priests and you come to find out that they've been, fucking around with little boys. I don't want to bring, that sort of thing into the conversation, but I'm just saying that sort of sexual repression, right? And feelings of guilt. That's another thing, the feelings of guilt. Divine, she brought this up years ago about, men being both, we can say men and women, but we'll just say men for the purposes of this conversation, being angry at a woman for, like, let's say a man is a man of God, being angry at a woman for her invoking the feelings that he has for her, which is insane. That's insane. Right? And then so he starts treating her negatively because he's mad at the idea that how dare you be so fine and so attractive and so beautiful that you take me off of my spiritual box. You take me off of I was heading towards the light until you walked in the room, bitch. Right? And this is the conflict of religion and these carnal earthly desires. Right? Because you have nature on one hand that wants you to be attracted to, women and procreate and reproduce and all that, right? So it gives you all these lustful desires, right? And then on the other side, you have religion, which says, tisk, 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 naughty, 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 bad, 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 right? And so a lot of people, they struggle with the cognitive dissonance of those two feelings, fluctuating through them. And I'm here to say that black men been had this problem, and it's been an issue. I just didn't know how bad of an issue it was. And the worst part is, like I said, because black women cannot win in this scenario, right? You say, oh, well, black women are not as sexy as Latinas. Latinas are sexier, right? Y'all jump up and down at Latin night. You got Hispanic women all throughout your rap videos, right? Bam, 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 right? You got all the Latinas all over the place on the yacht, titties out, ass out, right? Thick as hell, right? But then you take a black woman, you put her in the same bikini, you put her in the same outfit. Them dudes is talking about, oh man, whores. Those women are just for fun. Not saying that black men won't sleep with those women and whatnot, but again, they have this idea that no, those women are only for fun. They're whores, right? But then the funny thing is when it comes to the Latinas, y'all don't take that approach. But black men, have to, look in the mirror and take a self-reflection, or a self-assessment, I should say, is when it comes to all these other races of men, they will go out there and they will fuck others, but they will marry their own. They will fuck others and they will marry their own. But when it comes to black men, even when it comes to, like, we joke about it as black men, a lot of us have smutted out Muslim women, Arab women, Asian women. A lot of these women, we have smutted out all the most conservative women on the planet. But those that typically have, like, those strong, like, ethnic ties, like, if they're like, oh, I'm Kurdish, or if they're like, oh, I'm Egyptian, Coptic Egyptian, like, if they have, like not only they name their nationality, but then there's a subgroup underneath that, like, they're like, oh, I'm a Alawite Syrian or something like that. Like, if they say something like that, I'm a Druid Syrian, right? Which I think is what freaking George Clooney married, which they don't even like that shit. If they put two groups, like two group qualifiers on it, yeah, chances are they're not gonna marry you. They just having fun with you. If they're a minority within their respective nations, they deal with their own, especially if they're a group that has a history of being persecuted. They're going to deal with their own. But being westernized, being in America and all that other stuff, they're going to go out here and they're going to fuck with you. Right? They're going to fuck with Jamal. Now, Mustafa, he may not know about that. He'll go ballistic. He'll honor kill and all this other shit, if he finds out about that shit. But it goes down. It goes on in the DMs. We all know that. But again, they go back, they marry their own. Black men, yes, I can say the majority of black men marry within their race, but again, we disproportionately marry outside the race. And how many of us are out here marrying women that are fetish? Now, that's not to say that these women are whores in terms of their behavior, but like one of the things he talked about with the like Madonna whore complex is one of these like psychologists, or not psychologists, psychologists, sociologists, is he brought up the whole concept of like the somatic narcissist, and then there was like another narcissist, like the spiritual narcissist or something. And I don't like how everything he associates, because he wrote this book about narcissism, everything he associates to narcissism. But one of the points made was about, men who use women as objects, versus men who kind of look at sex or their attraction to women and say to themselves, I'm above that, right? I don't need sex, right? Which is more like Captain Solo, right? He placed himself above that, right? Especially back when he was religious, because you got to remember, he was originally a Jehovah's Witness and walked away from the shit. But me, whether you want to call it narcissist or not, I'm the somatic type. I'm the one that I need my sexual needs met. Period. I need that shit met. And I do, often, search around and look around for both of those things being met. The wifey material, how do you interact with kids? Are you respectable? All the common sense stuff that we all look for. But I need that sexual part. I need to be strongly physically attracted to you. And I need my sexual satisfaction needs met. The other stuff I kind of look at as not secondarily, but I kind of look like that should be there anyway. Like, that's the basics of that. I think it's harder to find somebody that you're attracted to than, well, no, I can't say that, because people will argue with me on that. But like, my whole thing is like, and maybe it's because I grew up, sort of sheltered in a way where the people that I had the most interactions with were namely white people who came from resources. And so the way that I viewed it was, anybody who came from resources, you would have to be an asshole to go out of your way to disrupt the foundation that you were given. So of all people, in my mind, of all people who grew up with resources should have the most sense. That was always my thing. People who grew up with resources should have the most sense. So I kind of glossed over that. I was like, okay, all these people grew up with resources. Okay, so where the bad bitches at? Like, that was my mentality, right? Where Cap, on the other hand, he was on the other end of the spectrum, where there was a lot of people, some people had, some people didn't have, but he was in the mix of where, you had to sort out like what a person was really about, and looks were secondary. That's, people talk about, people coming from money and stuff like that. You can tend to be shallow in situations like that, because the financial needs are met. Ends are meeting like a motherfucker. So you can focus on the other superficial things that you like, because you assume everything else is going to be there. Right? But I'm saying all that to say that, what was I about to say? The lust and the desire. Hold on a second. It's going to come to me because it just slipped my mind. I hate when I get off on these little side journeys. Give me a second. Oh, yeah, I remember. Yeah, so, I'm one of those guys that falls into that category of, pursuing the fantasy. Pursuing the sexual desire, the sexual lust, first. And if that leads me over the fence, it leads me over the fence. And I feel like there's as a group of men, a lot more of us, and I'm taking this right from another brother that I had a conversation about. And I think, what's his name? Coach Craig Adams, I think he talked about this as well, that about black men tending to we go out there and we choose what we lust, and we choose, what we have, we choose the fantasy, right? We don't keep the fantasy or the lust in its lane, right? Again, this goes back to the movie, I think it was the movie Belle, where it has had like, two white guys, and they were having a discussion, and one of the white guys was like, black women are just for sport. They're just for sport. What you need to do is you need to have a lily white flower, in your home. Basically, again, same thing, but, in the reverse, which is why they had to create miscegenation laws, to try to keep, why did that pop up? To try to keep, white men from, running up in the slave quarters. There were a number of white men that went off, and, they had their little, secret relationships, with their slaves and whatnot. But again, in trying to maintain white supremacy, they were heavily discouraged from that. The whole being Michael Fassbender and having a thing for Lupita, even though he abused her. But, he placed Lupita above Mistress and even told Mistress so. That whole scene where she throws the glass at Lupita's head in 12 Years a Slave. And, he's like, I bet you I'll get rid of you faster than I get rid of her. And she was just incensed as a white woman, and she was supposed to be, prized and whatnot. He was like, bitch, you can go back to that fucking horse trough that you call a home that you came from. He was like, basically, I'm a white man, I do what I want, right? But they had to create laws against that. Now, when it comes to black men, and, I've argued this point many times before about the non-existent patriarchy and, what happens when you have a group of men that are not in the lead and in the control, and before black women jump up and start bitching, I'm like, a lot of y'all reinforce this shit because you're all about the matriarchy and everything else, and then you have a group of men that don't have a sense of ownership of you, and therefore they don't have a sense of pride. Same thing I tried to point out about renters versus owners. Renters don't give a fuck about the property, and they always fucking up the Venetian blinds in public housing. Owners they care about the freaking curb appeal. They want the house to look nice. They want the property to appraise. They take care of it. They cut the grass, right? They put down new mulch. They plant new shrubbery, all that shit, because it's theirs, right? And so you get black women at matriarchy all the way. But I do think, this is my own personal belief, I do think that there is an element where that has a negative effect on how black women are cherished and valued in a way, right? Because, where white men will be, discouraged and straightened out by, when it comes to jumping over the fence, and in many other groups as well, their desires are shot down. They still have those desires, but their desires are shot down. And you see this shit. I'll tell you where you see this shit, because I worked in a strip club before. You see this shit when these motherfuckers come in, and like, you'll see Indian dudes, they want white women. You'll see Asian dudes, they'll go either white or black. You'll see black guys, they'll come in, they'll grab the white girls or the Latinas, right? Like, you'll see the white guys, they'll come in, they'll grab black, they'll grab Asian, they'll grab when they go into the strip club, they don't want a lap dance from their own. They want a lap dance from something else, because I can't get and I'm paying for it. No. I want the experience. I want the ride that I can't get on a regular basis. Oh yeah. And you sitting there scratching your head like, wait a minute, huh? You like that? That's what you about? You know what I mean? But again, married to an Asian woman, married to a white man, married to a white woman and whatnot. You know what I mean? If it wasn't for a lot of the group tribal shit, group economics, all that other stuff, you'd see a lot more interracial relationships. It wouldn't be the majority, but you would see a lot more. But because, you have all this political, socioeconomic bullshit going on, legacies, generational wealth, group empowerment, all that sort of stuff, those things act as factors to keep men in their lane. This is just my opinion. Okay? Because I know there's people that'll push back, but this is my observation. When it comes to these other groups, regardless of whatever they lust, they marry their own. You saw this with the shit that got exposed about these Arabs running around, pulling these models from Europe and then doing all type of sick ass, sexual shit with them and then sending them on their fucking merry way. Here's $20,000, bitch. You know what I'm saying? Shadamuta. That's what they do. That shit got exposed. All these models going down there to get smutted out. And the motherfucker like, here, take the Bentley. You know what I mean? Yeah. And see if you can get it out the country and not have that shit, taken at customs. Right? You had a chick that got her money taken. She tried to fly back into London with like $50,000 in her bag or something crazy. You see what I'm saying? So, again, I don't see that coming from black men. When it comes to black men, it's like, I don't say we prioritize, but a lot of us, or I shouldn't even say a lot of us. I'll just say more of us than other groups of men prioritize that lust aspect over, the group community stuff. And again, I look at black women with a side eye because I'm like, you don't support community stuff. You don't support patriarchy and black. You want black men to act, behave, and respond like other races of men. You know what I mean? Like the animated, like the Black Panther and the Black Panther's father in the animated series. I don't know if y'all ever saw that animated series that they used to have on YouTube. That basically he was like, you cannot bribe me with your white women and all this other shit. Yeah. You'd have men that operated like that owned, operated, and controlled, their space. But y'all don't want to get with the program and all that other stuff, right? Y'all want to fight and everything else, but yet you want to see the same behavior from black men. That's when I look at y'all with a side eye. I'm like, you're not going to get that. You would have a better argument if you actually fully supported that, and then the black men weren't doing it, but you were still in full support of it. Then you'd have an argument. Then you'd be like, oh, well, y'all motherfuckers ain't doing this, and we're in full support of it. But y'all come with this chameleon shit where you say you're in support of it, but you're not in support of it. You resist it. You visually and verbally demonstrate that you resist it. You know what I mean? And then you're like, well, how come I'm not getting the same outcome? I'm like, you're not doing what the other groups of women are. You're not playing that role. But I personally think that, it's a factor. I'm not saying that it's the thing, the whole, the politics and the group economics and all that other stuff and the legacies and generational. I'm not saying that's the be all end all, right? But I do believe it to be a significant component, because I'm like, why aren't the other men going for lust? How is it that they compartmentalize, in my opinion, more than black men do? Black men don't compartmentalize. Black men are like, bad bitch, man, I'm wifing it up. But again, there's that Madonna whore colorism complex where, the white, the Latino woman that caters to their libido, that's oversexed by Western standards, black men will wife it up. But when it comes to the black woman, put her in the same clothes, same box, black men are like, no, that's not wifey material. So it's like we got the same thing going on as many of the other races of men do, but we only go halfway. We don't go all the way. You get what I'm saying? We don't go all the way, right? Like, and again, me being whatever, a somatic narcissist or whatever, I prioritize a woman, catering to my sexual libido. I do. And I don't have the Madonna whore complex. I want to see black women, sexy, fishnet stockings, WH0RE, garter belts. All give me a black woman in some burlesque, okay, and I'm happy. Okay, y'all out here on some and I said Jason. I think it's Jesse Williams is the light skinned dude that I was talking about with his frumpy ass wife and Derek Jackson. Same thing. I'm like, what is this? This man making all this money online, and you get up online and talking about the helmet of salvation, you know what I'm saying, and the breastplate of the shield of Jesus or some shit like that. What the fuck is this? The motherfucker, all that shmoney that nigga making, and you up there looking like Frumpty Dumpty? The fuck out of here. The fuck out of here. You know what I'm saying? I need a bitch looking like, like freaking Jazz McKendrick. I feel like she's getting a little bit too skinny, but Jazz McKendrick in some of her earlier, content and photos. Like just walk around the house like that. Yes, give me all of that. Yes. You know what I mean? And again, in public, I'm sorry. I want people to say, hey, you got a bad bitch. You know what I mean? If a woman is faithful to me, I'm not worried about her being unfaithful. I shouldn't have to worry about that. She should be shutting dudes down left and right. And I guess maybe me being as big as I am and the height that I have, I have grown up fairly comfortable and confident that, a chick is not going to leave me for another dude. Unless we're talking about, money, she could come across a Michael B. Jordan or some shit like that. I'm done. You know what I mean? But in terms of physically, like, no, I've never worried about that. I've never been like, oh, here comes this tall nigga. You know what I mean? Because the motherfucker would literally have to be like 6'7" for me to fucking feel some type of way. You know what I mean? Like, oh, damn. And then at that point, like 6'7", like that's just awkward at that point. You know what I mean? That's that Shaq versus, hoops type of shit. You know what I mean? Like you don't even line up in the bed. Like, no. You know what I mean? That's just weird. Maybe she goes for that, but hey, you know what I mean? My height is perfect. It's beautiful. I was blessed, and so I'm happy and content with that. I don't need to be any taller. I don't need to, because once I go past the current shoe size I do have, like now, then you start having to go to the back of Nordstrom's rack, you know what I mean? And find all those damn big ass fucking basketball shoes, size 17, size 21. Like, no, thank you. I'm cool with the height. See, y'all don't realize this disadvantage is the heights. There's cars that I've been, wanted to buy. I'm like, oh man, I like that car, man. Let me get that shit, man. Get in that motherfucker, man. All of a sudden, my knees are all jammed up behind the steering wheel, and it ain't fun. Shoes and cars, not fun. Not fun, when it comes to buying what you actually want. And then clothes too. Like there's certain clothes, I can't wear. You know what I mean? I see jeans, they'll have the right width, and then the shit'll be short as fuck, like size, with like 30 length jeans. What the fuck am I gonna do with some 30 length jeans? Like, fuck out of here. But anyway, I'm just saying, maybe that's why I'm not tripping about that shit. Because in terms of being physically desired, I've never been with a woman that I didn't feel that she physically desired me. You get what I'm saying? But some of y'all out here, some of y'all that don't work out, some of y'all that are short, some of y'all, y'all be tripping when it comes to your woman getting too much attention because you're like, oh, I don't have that to keep this bitch. Which I've already warned about in terms of it's not just about getting your money up, but it's also about getting your physique up. I've already talked about that. But if y'all want to fight on that, then okay, then go out here and be insecure. Because I do think that a lot of this stuff also ties to black men's, insecurity about having a bitch be that bad. You know what I mean? It's like, you got to be able to handle a bad bitch. You got to be able to handle a 10. Y'all be running around here laughing when these women say that they're 10s and they're delusional. Yeah, but can you handle a 10? Most of y'all couldn't handle the 6 to Goddess on your arm. You couldn't. You couldn't handle her going to the mall or whatever. Granted, now some of y'all might dismiss her because you say, them bitch is 6 foot. She too damn tall for me. And y'all will say, fuck it. You know what I mean? But I'm saying, okay, let's just magically make 6 to Goddess 5'5". Okay? Y'all know how many dudes would be trying to get at her. She got big ass titties, long legs, pretty face. Dudes would be trying to get at her. You know what I mean? But how many of y'all could handle that? How many of y'all can handle that? And even when it comes to, like, now we're talking about the fiery Latinas, y'all be out here, yeah, J-Lo, and, back when she was, the shit when she was with Diddy. But I'm just saying, how many of y'all can handle all these quote-unquote exoticals in the fantasy department that y'all, will speak on? That y'all say that y'all want? How many can you handle? How many of y'all could handle, the level of attention that a quote unquote exotical would get? Right? Like how many of y'all can handle, like when they had that battle between who's better looking, Six the Goddess or Melanie King? A lot of y'all couldn't handle, Melanie King, on your arm. Y'all couldn't handle that shit. Light or dark, y'all couldn't handle that shit. And so some of the, women need to cover up type of shit has to do with y'all own personal insecurity. I don't suffer from that either. So whether it's the spiritual aspect or whatever issues you may or may not have with your mother, the Madonna horror complex, the insecurities or whatever, I'm just saying I feel like brothers need to sort that shit out and figure out, where they really stand on, on that and be honest with themselves. Because to sit there, to me, is cruel for, whether it's different groups of black men or whatever, but in one breath, black men will sit there and say, black women are unattractive, they're homely, they don't want to compete, okay, what does compete mean? How does a black woman, that's a good question. How does a black woman compete against all these sexy, spicy, sequins dressed, legs out, fat ass Latinas? How do they compete against that? Well, what should they be wearing that competes against that where you won't be calling her a whore? See, now all of a sudden dudes are going to be telling me, oh, well, Pete, there's a whole bunch of space between looking like you selling something on the street and looking like you living in a convent. I said that before. But I need you to tell us what attire is acceptable, that she won't get hit with the whore bat. You see? Because y'all running around, oh, they can't compete. Look, I genuinely meant that shit when I said that shit. But if they went out there and they put the outfits on, they lost the weight and they were looking good, makeup was slamming, you ain't gonna see me filing any more complaints. But y'all, suddenly they go out there, the chick is looking sexy, and then the complaint switches into, oh, she's not a respectable woman, she ain't wifey material. What the hell? You just 5 minutes ago, nigga, you were saying she can't compete. Black women ain't competing. They need to compete. That's what you said. And the category of women that you talking about them competing against are women that look sexy to you and fit into that fantasy category. But now you basically saying she can't be in the fantasy category because she's a black woman. Because the minute that she puts on the same clothes, you're going to sit there and start splashing holy water all over the place, saying that she's not wifey material. So she loses either way. If she doesn't get dolled up, she's homely and she's unattractive and she doesn't want to compete. If she does get dolled up, then you're going to turn around and say that she's for the streets. I'm like, that's fucked up. I'm just saying. Maybe y'all brothers might need to go back to the lab and, have your little huddle and decide, what we're going to freaking complain about. You know what I mean? But I've seen enough. And again, I do my little test. I put my shit out there. Some of y'all are so quick to comment. Some of y'all are so quick to write dumbass comments. And I'm like, gotcha, nigga. Gotcha. Y'all so quick to post some shit. So excited. So quick to make jokes, not realizing that those jokes expose the true reality of how you fucking think. And then when I call you out on it, then y'all niggas go, oh nigga, unsubscribe, oh nigga, you woman identified, nigga, now you want to cry, now you want to cover it up. You know what I'm saying? Like, my whole thing is, if you gonna file complaints, I don't care whether you black man or black woman, but let your shit be legitimate, nigga. Your shit needs to be legitimate. Don't be out here just filing complaints, throwing shit at the wall, hoping it sticks. You know what I mean? No, let your shit be like, brother, what are you so upset about? Why are you mad? I'm mad because I don't like this. Okay, cool. I got you. Right? But be consistent about that. You know what I mean? Trying to think of an example. Like I was gonna address this Crimson Cure thing, this video that she did. There's no criticism. It's just, one of the points about, how people overlook how black men feel about their mothers. There's a lot of women that do things that black men do not like. Just because our mothers are black and we don't, there's certain things that our mothers do that we don't like. And as I said before, you can't lie to your sons. Your sons know who you are. You can lie to all these other niggas, but your sons know who you are. And a lot of black women just assume that black men like the way that their mothers did things. And quite a few of us do not. And it's going to manifest in, black men, choosing other races of women. Because when they look at a black woman, that black woman reminds them of all the issues that they've had with their mother. I'm just saying, like, these are how these things manifest. Just the same way as a black woman, if she was sexually violated or molested, by an uncle or a cousin that was a black man, you know what I mean? You can end up with a black woman that be on some divestiture shit all because of that. She talking all this crazy shit, and black men don't build, and da-da-da-da-da, and black men and this, that, and the third, and niggas ain't shit. And then you come to find out that she was violated when she was 12 years old. You're like, oh, that's what this is about. Why don't you just say all that? Right? And I understand it's not easy for people to come forward with, but it's like, damn, you went all the way into, it's because niggas ain't building Wakanda and all this other shit and whatnot, and niggas ain't asked me to the prom when I was 12 and all this other stuff, and come to find out, no, it was because you were violated when you were 12. That's what this is about. I get it. And I know this because I had sex with a white woman that wanted to, she got gang raped by a group of white men. I can't remember, it was 4 or 5 of them, but I definitely know it was more than 3. And she got sexually assaulted in a park, and all of them went to jail. I believe they're currently still in jail. They might have just got released, come to think about it, because it has been, it's got to be at least a decade, since her and I, messed around. But anyway, she basically went out there and she got a whole bunch of tattoos on her body. She went out there and, was messing with women, all this shit, but, it was a group of friends and whatnot, and we were all drunk and playing cards and everything else like that. And another girl, she tried to arrange the shit, and I was like, man, fuck it. You know what I mean? What a great way to end the night. You got liquor in your system and busting a nut. So fuck it, right? And so whatever, we linked up, got together, had sex and whatnot. But yeah, her primary request was she wanted to have a sex with a man, but it couldn't be a white man because she was violated by, 4 or 5 white men. So I partooketh. And funny thing is I wasn't even the first choice, quiet as it's kept. You know what I mean? She said it was funny because she thought it would be better with the other dude, but it was she was like, oh, you're cuter than I thought you were. I didn't get a good look at you, all this other stuff. But she was kind of funny. But anyway, it was an occurrence, she cried, and then I stopped, and then she pulled herself back together, and it was weird. I was like, what did I sign up for? What did I do here? You know what I mean? But I'm just pointing out how you got people out here that, they can be damaged by shit that happens to them. You know what I mean? And then they go out here and they throwing that shit out there into the world, and you got other people, co-signing it, not realizing, where that hurt comes from. Even with Captain Solo, Cap I didn't find out till years later that Cap's mother got shot by, his stepfather. That wasn't some shit that he came to the internet and was like, oh, Pete, now that we're talking and everything, let me tell you about how my mother was shot 5 times by her second husband. Nah, and then not only that, one of the things that he pointed out is, even speaking on the damages, How him and his sister didn't go to therapy for it. And you know why they didn't go to therapy for it, even though they probably needed the therapy? They didn't go to therapy because that would have exposed all of the dysfunction that was going on in the house, and his mother didn't want that dysfunction to be basically shared with anybody. So her children didn't get therapy after she got damn near taken out of this world, even though they desperately needed that therapy. So much so that Captain Solo's sister used to talk to this woman, and when his mother found out that she was talking to this woman about everything that she was going through, her mother basically was like, I don't like you talking to them. It's fucked up shit. So I'm saying a lot of people got, I don't know what, we don't examine what goes on with black men emotionally based off of, what type of relationship they have with their mother. And I'm saying, I'm only bringing this up because, I personally thought the Madonna horror complex was a little bit more simplistic than that, but these psychologists are bringing up this whole aspect about relationships with the mother and everything. I ain't even trying to get all that deep into it. I'm like, double standard is enough for me. There's a double standard. You see one woman, you go whore. You see another woman, you go, wifey. Right? And with black men, again, I've already done the litmus test. I post a picture of a woman walking and everything. All of a sudden, dudes is coming out talking about, oh man, she needs to be covered up, Satan, I rebuke thee. You know what I mean? Like, they start saying all this scripture type of bullshit. But when it comes to a Latina, unless her ass is absolutely hanging out, you know what I mean? Unless she's like, trying to show you the inside of her anus or some shit like that, unless they're doing that, then, black dudes will act like, oh, that shit is, that's a bad bitch right there. But when it comes to sisters, you know what I mean? Like, they'll be like, where are her parents? They start sounding like a bunch of, white people, on some Fox News YouTube channel in the comment sections. Where are the parents? Where are the parents? They start having seizures and shit. You know what I mean? Our women have fallen so far from grace. You know what I mean? You should see them in the comment section. This shit is hilarious. I'm like, man, this looks like a pretty woman to me, man. It's a bad bitch. Our women, what is the world coming to? I'm like, oh my God, really, bro? What is the world coming to? I'm like, it's a bad bitch. Any other day, you be bitching about, our women don't know how to compete. They don't know how to compete. I'm like, I don't know. Y'all need to come up with better definitions of what is what. What qualifies as competing, that they won't get hit with this, the whore bat. You know what I mean? Like what qualifies as a healthy competition? And I'm pretty sure that y'all will throw up some shit. You look at the woman and you're like, that's a nice young lady, right? But that shit doesn't move you sexually. It doesn't move your libido. So if it doesn't move your libido, like, what does it matter if it doesn't move your libido? If you're not going to approach, if you're not going to try to holler, what does it matter if you ain't going to do that? You know what I mean? And even with the women, you got like the whole, like in one of the videos, the same video, the woman was talking about, she talked about the night beast. I was like, what the hell is the night beast? I was like, what is the night beast? That's a woman who goes out here and she marries the nice guy that's the responsible one and provides and everything else, but she's out there fantasizing about, some dude that's a savage. That's the night. That's like the reverse Madonna horror complex for women. They call it the night beast, I guess. You know what I mean? But, you also have the aspect of, women who didn't have their fathers in their life. And they didn't get validation from their fathers. So what do? They're out there, in the streets trying to get attention, by, being scantily clad because they want the affections and the attentions of men because their father wasn't there. Right? I mean, Foxy Brown said this point blank in her song China Dog. Lack of love had me falling for thugs, the niggas who ain't cared just like daddy. I mean, she said it point blank. You know what I mean? So I'm not a psychologist, but, I gotta, from the psychologist, I gotta, entertain this whole idea about some of this being tied to the type of relationship that you either had or lacked, with, your parent of the opposite gender. Men, it's, manifests as the Madonna horror complex. With women, it'll manifest as, either her putting herself out there, seeking male validation, or that whole night, what do you call that shit? The freaking night savage thing. What is it? Not night beast. The night beast. I was like, yo, that's crazy. The night beast. And what's so funny? Like when I read that, I was laughing because as somebody who's as big as me, and it's one of the things that I kind of feel some type of way about being as big as I am. When I have sex with a woman, women do not want me to make love to them. Because I'm so big, every time I have sex with a woman, they want to be manhandled, they want to be choked, they want me to spit in their mouth, they want to be totally, physically, and utterly dominated. They want to feel the weight and pressure of my body on them. They want to feel like they're having sex with the Incredible Hulk. And so I end up being the guy, which I'm not complaining about, but I end up being the guy that women want to, they want the savagery. They want the beat, even if that's not me. Even if I'm not even that type of mood. You know what I mean? But I've learned what is expected of me. That much I've learned with the number of women that I've had sex with. They expect me to ravish them as big as I am. So much so that what they want to see, I think even another thing they want to see. I remember I had sex with this woman, actually two women. They had the sliding mirror and everything. Oh man, they want to see how big I am in relationship to how small they are in front of the mirror, pile driving them. They want to see that. I'm not a woman, can't relate to it. You know what I mean? But that's what they want to see. They want this whole, I call it Beauty and the Beast, but I like the night beast thing. But I'm saying the Beauty and the Beast thing. You know what I mean? And this is where a lot of black men that are, of the bigger type, or not even the bigger type, the savage type, like if you were a hardcore street dude and everything, because of the way that black men have been sexually vilified and criminalized and everything else like that, a lot of white women will when they go into the night beast, you know what I mean? It's not just about being the bad boy. The white male bad boy is not good enough for some reason anymore. It's the black male bad boy, because the black male bad boy trumps the white male bad boy. And so you end up with this situation where you get these white women out there and they want that black man to fulfill that role. And so a lot of this, is, a lot of people have a lot of sexual deviance going on, and it's rarely discussed because sex is taboo. And so we don't have those conversations, and everybody thinks everybody's out here having, a normal, healthy sexual relationships, monogamous relationships, and that's not what's going on out here. A lot of people got some sexual, deviant shit going on with them, and they don't want to own it because they're ashamed. Because that's what we do in this society. We shame people, for their sexual desires. As Western and as America is, and as progressive and all that other stuff, a lot of that stuff is not. We don't like to put that type of stuff on Front Street, especially the deviant stuff. Like example, women who don't, most Western women, especially in the face of #MeToo, do not want to admit that they have rape fantasies. They do not want to admit that. You know what I mean? They'll just, I just wish he would just take me. I have heard women say that shit. I wish he would just take me. I'm like, well, doesn't he have to acknowledge your consent? I'm just being an asshole, but I'm just saying, they want to feel, and some of it has to do with women absolving themselves of guilt. See, if a man is aggressive and a man pursues her and a man is forcing himself on her, she gets to absolve herself of all guilt. I just couldn't resist him because he forced himself on me, but she wants it. You see? But that's why, no woman wants to be told, after she has sex with a man, well, I didn't want it, you wanted it. That type of shit will crush a woman. You know what I mean? They don't want to feel that they're the naughty one, they're the dirty one, they're the sexual deviant. They don't want to feel that shit. And those that do engage in that type of behavior, a lot of them, again, will do it over the fence because they don't have to answer for that. You know what I mean? Again, that whole Madison Brooks thing down there at LSU. They want to sit there and say it was a rape case. Bullshit. It was not. Bullshit. She was doing the same thing that all these white women do with these college campuses. You know what I mean? They go out there fucking around with black guys, typically dudes on a football team and a basketball team. All the black guys are nothing but the forbidden fruit that they've been told stay away from. And when they get to that college campus, they going to get that black dick and nobody's going to know about it. Their father's not going to know about it. And then they're going to go off and then marry Grant Wellington III and go off and be happy. You know what I'm saying? I mean, again, what was Malcolm X originally fucking arrested for? Running around with a bunch of white women. This shit has been going on. It ain't new. You know what I'm saying? So, the sexual deviance goes on in both directions. The sexual, like, having these unhealthy thoughts and emotions when it comes to sex and how you perceive the other person, also based on, like whether they're, what race they are and whatnot, like also based off of that, where people's brains do something completely different depending on the race of the person. That's where, the colorism and the self-hatred or whatever, one or the other. It doesn't even have to be, both at the same time. That's where it comes in. And sometimes it doesn't even matter because at the end of the day, it's still going to play out the same way. You know what I mean? If you're not messing with black women because they got behavioral issues, you know what I mean? And if you're not messing with black women because, they didn't want you, or if you're not messing with black women because you have a Madonna whore complex and, you can only see, women of other races that are scantily clad as sexually lustful and desire, then you feel guilty when it's a black woman, and then you go into, priest mode. Right. Then it plays out the same way because you're not fucking with them and you're not having a healthy sexual relationship with them because you got other shit going on in your head. Like I said, whatever the guy said, somatic narcissist or whatever. Yeah, that's me. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't agree with all the shit Potency was making, but I'm just saying, like, no, like, I don't care what the race of the woman is. I want a woman that's dressed in an outfit that moves my fucking libido. You know what I mean? And it's another thing that probably highlights how you can tell a guy that thinks like me, because I'm more focused on the article of clothing than I am on the race of the woman. Meaning, I'm like, fishnets, heels, freaking mini skirts, whatever slutty shit I'm throwing up there. Like, notice my focus is on the article of clothing. My focus is not on what the woman. I don't care what the race of the woman is. I'm just saying, have that shit on. Like a woman is a woman. Have that shit on. But you get some of these other guys, they start, they don't have anything that they particularly are into. Because, see, the thing is if I'm focused on the clothes, I can interchange the woman. It doesn't matter. Black, Hispanic, I can interchange. I can swap it out. White girl, I can swap it out. I'm still getting what I want out of that situation. Right? But when it comes to, some of these other dynamics that I'm hearing coming from the guys, I'm like, it sounds to me like you switch up whenever we change the race of the woman. You know what I mean? Like, now all of a sudden, now you want wholesome and this, that, and the third. And again, like I said, I've seen this, from other races of men. But the key difference is that more of them will always, they come back home. As a matter of fact, I'm using that term because I had a Coptic Egyptian woman say that to me one time. She said, they come back home. Our men always come back home. I'm like, how do you feel about the fact that they running out there fucking whatever? It doesn't matter. They come back home. That was her whole thing. They come back home. Black women can't say black men come back home. They can't say that. Not with the utmost confidence. Not with black men screaming passport bros at the top of their lungs. And again, I'm not saying that we don't have any of these other problems going on in the background. I'm just saying I think it's fucked up and I think it's hypocritical, to sit there as black men and say black women need to compete. And then when they try to compete, the first thing out of your mouth is, oh, she's a whore. I think that's fucked up. I don't think that's a scenario where they can win. And I don't know how many black men are on this because we're just now examining this. But I'm like, goddamn, like, what is with the... It was like when Divine said, when she was like, when we were talking about, winning and, against racism and white supremacy. And she was like, what is with all this good and evil shit? The goal is to win. And again, when it came to, presenting, sexy black women, I'm like, what is up with all this splashing holy water all over the place? What is up with all this? What's up with all this? I'm like, why is it every time a black woman is some sexy, slutty shit or whatever, y'all gotta point out the sluttiness, the level of slut. Why is that? Y'all don't do that shit when it comes to the others. You don't. You know what I mean? Y'all ain't over there policing Asian women. You ain't policing Hispanic women. You ain't policing white women, right? I understand the whole aspect of, well, these are our women. But I'm like, okay, well, just explain to me where they can, freely, display their sexuality. Because black men keep coming online making these arguments like, well, the only reason why, is because they don't know how to compete. They don't look as good. They don't look as good. Why? Because they're black women, or they don't look as good because they won't put on the outfits and they out here looking like Jesse Williams' wife, or they out here looking like Derek Jackson's wife. See that right there, like that's not, black women will try it. That's not self-hate. That's not colorism. That's not, bitch, you won't put it the fuck on. You out here looking like you rolled out of bed. What the fuck is this shit? You looking like you rolled out of bed and somebody should ravish you. That's another thing, when it comes to sisters, because a lot of sisters get incensed because, they get into that I'm comfortable and this, that, and the third. And, that's, black women looking like Jill Scott in, that song that I was talking about, the fucking... what is that Get Out My Way or whatever, what's the name of that damn song? I can't think of what the damn song is called. What's that damn song called? Fucking Jill Scott. I can't even think of what the damn song is. Anyway, y'all know what I'm talking. I just gave the example of it. That damn Jill Scott song. What is that shit called? Get Out of My Way? What's something. Anyway, that song. You know what I mean? Black women think like that black men should be, and that's another thing. Like, they hear us talking about all this, oh, she's a godly woman, this, that, and the third. And when they, I want to say this, they hear us talking all this shit, acting like, we're a bunch of priests and pastors and shit, and we do not succumb, to the realities of the flesh, right? We don't succumb to the weakness of the flesh, right? That's what we'll sit up there and say, right? But then, again, here comes the scantily clad non-black women walking in the room, and all of a sudden, black men's dicks is standing at attention, boners abound, right? And they get mad at that shit. They're like, wait a minute, just like Captain Solo's aunts. You know what I mean? Like, I forget what woman him and his father were looking at on TV. I want to say it was Sandra Bullock, that was getting an award for Miss Congeniality or something like that. It might have been Sandra Bullock or might have been another woman, but all I know is that his aunt was just like, you like that? Like, yeah, like, I'm a red-blooded man, like, what's not to like? You like that? And so, there's a lot of, women that have been out here with these, hoteps, bean pots selling dudes that are insecure, don't necessarily want the prettiest woman on their arm. All they want to do, all they care about is just hitting it. And I'm saying, if that's what's been going on by and large in the community, I'm like, well, then y'all a match made in heaven. But I think what bothers black women is the fact that they don't get the reputation of being beautiful women or sexy women, or they don't get the reputation, and they want the reputation. Again, that whole, I'm not saying not want the reputation, but they don't like the fact that, and white women don't like it either, the fact that men's attention is drawn to Latinas. They don't like that shit. It's like, wait a minute. You said wifey, you said woman of God, you said you shouldn't even be looking over there. And I'm just saying, technically speaking, using air quotes, they're 100% right. No man sitting there talking about, virtuous women and this, that, and the third should be over there looking at the chick, in some burlesque. But yet, as men, we do. And I think that's where the women get really, incensed. And, just like Captain Solo's aunt, who was a light-skinned woman, by the way, but even she came off with you like that? Like, yeah, I do. I do like that. You know what I mean? And if you think I'm lying, black men, I promise you, go sit in front of a TV if you got some black women in your house or in your vicinity, your aunts and shit, and verbalize, watch a award show or something on TV, and just say something like, yeah, that's a sexy outfit. That's a bad bitch right there. Just say something. You don't have to say bad bitch, but just say it. And I guarantee you the black women are going to explode with fucking, indignant objections to you saying that. Now, why? They're going to turn and look at you. Now, why are you saying that? Now, why? She just putting it out there. She just this and she just that. And I'll tell you where black women are contradictory. Because they're contradictory, because they'll be the first ones to sit up there, you know what I mean? Why do you like that, this, that, and the third? Then Keke Palmer comes out and with the whole fiasco that happened with her man, and then they'll argue, and she does what she wants, and that's right, and can no man check a woman and tell her what to wear and what to do, and that's right, and can no man tell her what to do, and she is a liberated black queen, right? They come out talking all that shit, right? But I'm like, okay, she's a liberated and she's a queen, but you were just getting on my man about, him having like the sexy outfit and shit like that. You were just getting on him about that. Explain that. That doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? Of course he's going to like that and be attracted to that. You should know that. You know what I mean? You like dudes with muscles and shit like that. You don't see us throwing up any goddamn objections. You know what I mean? So it's like even black women are for and against it at the same time. It's real crazy. But anyway, I'm going to end this video. That's all I got to say. That's my video. SWP out. Don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe.